Did you favor compensation for the people who were victims of this riot? And so why? Why?
Because these dreams were destroyed. The ability to make a living. Manly's paper, he had advertisers who were white. It was doing very well, and boom, all of a sudden there is no income, there's no nothing. So whatever he could provide for his family over the years was taken away. I mean, this is not something that is subjective, it's objective. You can look at the picture that they put everywhere when they burned the newspaper down, and people, the black people standing around had on hats, had bow ties, suits. So it wasn't just the red shirts, it was the leading people of the time. And people behind it were certainly what was the old planters class. And see what happened there, and we fast forward to now, you have to always think of conspiracies about anything that happens, because you never know who's behind what's going on.
Was this a conspiracy?
No question about it.
Was it planned early? Is that what
Well
you're trying to
planned.
say? Well planned?
Well planned.
By whom?
By the secret line. And you know better than I do.
Well, I don't want you to say it. I've been saying it for years. I want somebody else to say it.
Well, they were out there.
So you favor compensation, and you don't use that word reparation. I don't either.
No,
But you favor
compensation.
You favor compensation specifically for Alex Manly's descendants, or
Well, look at the Miller family.
we were hoping they were going to be here tonight, but they probably
They were raised.
Yeah, they were coming from Raleigh. I did talk to them. Who was Thomas C. Miller?
He was a man who had been a slave, but was able to become an entrepreneur, a banker of sorts. He lent money to whites and blacks, so it certainly was meant to everybody's benefit to get rid of him, because now you're going to have to pay back those loans.
Well, it's been certainly nice talking to you. What I want to do now is kind of open it up to the people in the audience. I have been researching this. I am a native of Wilmington. And growing up as a youngster, I knew there was something wrong with this place. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But blacks would greet whites on the street and look down.
Did you ever give us your name?
My name is Larry Thomas. Larry Renee Thomas. And I have written 2 books, and they're related to 1898. I have started an organization. I'm a radio announcer and a writer by profession, but I have become an activist with a capital A. And one of the things that I've been trying to do is find people like Dr. Manly, who are, Dr. Manly is ideal because he is a direct descendant of one of the victims of this massacre. It was not a race riot, it was a massacre. He is a direct descendant, and that's one of the goals of my organization, is to find people like him. And he is not only a descendant, but he is a scholar.
Not really.
Well, that's what scholars do. Who has done, I'm trying to convince him to write a book, who has done, if not just as much research into this incident as I have. He's done just as much, I would think. He is just like me. He is hooked on 1898. My mother and my father, and my father, to my mother, my sister, and my wife say that I have been hooked on 1898. Matter of fact, people in Wilmington call me the 1898 man. Here he comes with 1898. So it's been a pleasure for me to be with him for the past 3 or 4 days. He was on The State of Things, which is, sure some of you probably heard it on WUNC, which is a very good program. And he was talking about the same thing that we've been talking about tonight. What I want to do is open this conversation up. Also, we have in the audience Mr. Al McShirley, who is legal counsel for the state NAACP. And the NAACP has been at the forefront in publicizing and keeping, they just had a conference in Wilmington. And the ultimate goal is to sue. I don't know who they're going to sue. That's up to Al to decide, because he has the legal expertise, and I don't. But somebody is going to get sued. for the injustices that were inflicted upon the people in 1898. Dr. Manly, let's give him a hand. Dr. Manly has guts, and he's not afraid. Just like he said, he don't have anything to gain. The only thing he has to gain is his dignity. That's the biggest thing anybody can gain. He is willing to stand up and say, a wrong was done in 1898, and he wants compensation for what was done to his family. Right? Now he's a retired dentist. Right? There's no telling what he could have been. If his grandfather's business hadn't been burned down, he could have been, his newspaper could have been in New York. It could have been another New York Times. He could have been, well, not Donald Trump, what's his name? Murdoch. Yeah, he could have been a newspaper magnate. That's right. There's no telling what he could have been. But because of 1898, and because his grandfather, I mean, this is serious business because he is a direct descendant. And his name is Manly. You can't get any more direct than that. Right? So I want everybody here to participate in this dialogue and asking questions. Now this is a historic moment. And we're recording this. Okay. So your questions and your voice and your presence will not be on candid camera. It will be on uncandid camera. All right? Go ahead. Give us your name, please, and tell us where you're from.
Hi, my name is Laura Nigro, and I am from Durham of the last 3.5 years. I think I heard you say, Mr. Thomas, that neither of you uses the word reparation, instead you use compensation. And I'd like to ask how you distinguish between those two words. And connected to that, despite what you also just said about not knowing who's going to get sued, can either you or Mr. Manly or the gentleman from NAACP suggest what prospective parties might constitute, might be part of the suit to draw the compensation from?
Well, the first question about compensation and reparation, in Ellis Manley's case, I told you you have a difference between a subjective thing and something that's objective. But on the picture of this paper right here, yeah, the thing you're looking at, that's his newspaper on the cover. See, that's not subjective. That's something you can look right at and see. Place being burned down, his printing press is thrown out of the top of that building out in the street and dumped in the ocean somewhere. And the whole building, that's an empty lot now. It's basically holy ground. It's just a space down there where it was. So there's no question what he had. Reparation is a general term for, say, everybody, say anybody who's black should be given some sort of money for slavery or whatever. But this is something that we don't have to really doubt around about who was a slave and whose plantation on. There's a man had a business that was destroyed by a mob.
So then by compensation you mean something that is very concrete, that
Yes.
is more readily quantified
Yes,
than
yes.
what reparation would
Yes,
mean. Okay,
yes.
thank
And
you.
reparations comes from the word to repair.
Repair, right.
But you have to have a party who's willing to say that some damage has been done. And I'm not sure the people who perpetuated this crime are willing to say. As a matter of fact, the people who instigated this incident were considered heroes. Yeah, they were heroes. I read a book. What first piqued my interest was a book called The Wilmington Rebellion of 1898. When I was in grad school, I went to grad school. And I said, oh, Wilmington, this is a bunch of black people revolted And then I said, well, this is 1898, that was after slavery, by Harry Hayden. And I don't think this book is even in print anymore.
Yeah.
But when I started reading this book, the book was talking about the white folks in rebellion against the black folks. Because you have to understand, the government was half and half. There were, I think, 4 blacks and 4 whites in the government. So the whites at that time decided that they would rebel against this government. So it was written from the white perspective. If you're looking for the white perspective of what happened in 1898, read that.